I want to talk to you about what our experience with Starlink has been so far. Hi and welcome to Terra Trotter. I'm Alba Harden. In a previous video I shared with you how we set up and installed the Starlink in our van. On that video we had a lot of questions, and then I also wanted to do a follow-up video where we talked about more kind of the technical side of things. So just as we have had it for 2 weeks now, just things like how much battery it consumes, how it works through the inverter, just everything like that. One of the questions we got asked, for example, was why didn't you go for the Starlink Mini? And that is simply because unfortunately it's not available in Spain. I'm not sure if it's not available in all of Europe, but it wasn't available in Spain. So when I put in all my details and the plan that I wanted, which was the Rome plan for the van, the only one I could choose was the standard. There wasn't an option for the Mini, so that's why that happened. Another thing that I would like to do in today's video is share a speed test with you. It's also something people have asked about. I did mention in the last video how it would normally take me about anywhere between an hour and 15 minutes to 2 hours to upload one of these YouTube videos, which are normally around 10 minutes. Some are shorter, some are a little bit longer, but the average is around 10 minutes. And you saw in the previous video in the Starlink setup how I uploaded a YouTube video. I think it was a 10-minute one actually, or it might be 11. I uploaded it using the Starlink, and it took, in total, it started off saying it would take about 30 minutes, but it ended up taking about 20. So yeah, those are the things I want to share with you today. So let's jump right in. Just quickly before jumping into the rest of the video, I wanted to take a minute to talk about the system that we have installed in our van, as everything that we'll be talking about will be based on it. The first thing is a solar panel. We have one solar panel of 330 watts on the roof of the van, and we did realize that it wasn't really working at its most efficient. And after doing some research, we realized that is because of the heat. So even though solar panels do work on sun power, they actually don't do very well with heat. So as we are currently in August in the south of Spain, the days are getting up to about 40 degrees Celsius, which means that the actual panel is probably reaching about 60 degrees. And when doing our research, we found that with every 3 degrees over 25 degrees Celsius, the efficiency of the solar panel goes down 1%. So it really isn't working at its max right now. Just keep that in mind when we're talking about everything of how long the battery takes to charge and such. But the maximum that we've been getting of watt power at the moment has been around 270, as you can see in this screenshot. Moving on to our inverter, the one that we purchased is the 1.2 kilowatt Victron Energy Pure Sunwave inverter. The output of this inverter is of about 1200 VA of continuous power, 2200 watts of peak power with high efficiency, and 1 watt of consumption in zero power mode eco. And lastly, our battery. Our battery is a gel battery of 200 amp hours. And in this video, I talk about how when we wake up in the morning, it was at 74%. Therefore, it had used about 25% overnight with the Starlink. And recharging that 25% took around 5 hours, keeping in mind everything that I already talked about with the solar panel. So with all this in mind, enjoy the rest of the video. The first thing I wanted to share was we have been doing various tests in regards to how much battery it uses, what the consumption is like, as it isn't, as I mentioned before, the Starlink Mini, which does work on a 12-volt system. This Starlink does not. This Starlink is meant for a house, therefore it does use a 240 volt. So yeah, that's one thing we were curious about. So what we did was that at the end of the day, when the battery was at 100%, because it had charged during the day with the solar, which at the moment with what we're using, as we are still doing tests in the van, but we're still at home, we haven't actually got anywhere. Although we have done a few little test trips, one of which is either out or coming out, so either go check it out or stay tuned. But it is normally getting to 100 with what we're using, which is everything from fridge to extractor fan to pump, plugs that are in the 240 volt system, plugs that are in the 12 volt system, everything. It is obviously all the lights, but that's not a lot of consumption. But yeah, all of that, and it is still, the solar panel is still charging the battery to 100 at the end of the day, which is great. So yeah, what we are doing is when it is at 100% at the end of the day, we're turning everything else off, including the fridge, as we've done our own little test of that already, and making sure that the only thing plugged in is the inverter, and of course the Starlink plugged into that. So here are the results from this morning. The sun does set at the moment at around 9 o'clock here in the south of Spain, and like I say, at that time, at 9 p.m. last night, the battery was on 100, and this morning, I mean, the sun is still rising. It is 8:15. It's not actually hitting the solar panel yet. It's not come over the mountain yet, and it's on 74%. It's not bad, but obviously the Starlink has pulled quite a lot throughout the night. So from all the tests that we've been doing, these are pretty much been the results, anywhere between 70 and 80 really normally. And I'm going to go a bit deeper into it now, but we have come to the conclusion that obviously the Starlink and also the inverter does not have to be on while we sleep. Obviously this is when the van is going to be not producing any energy to charge the battery, as there's no sun, and obviously the actual van won't be in movement. So we have decided that whenever we're leaving the van or when we're sleeping, we'll probably just turn the Starlink off, turn the inverter off, and solve that problem. So I'm just going to go into the Victron Connect app. So that is all of our devices. We've got the solar charge, the inverter, and the battery monitor are all Victron Energy, I think it's called. I'm pretty sure the app is called Victron Connect. As you can see, at the moment we have one Bluetooth dongle which we will switch between the battery monitor, which is what it's connected to now, and the inverter, depending on what we want to look at. So if we first go into the battery monitor, you can see here that it is at 74%, like I said. The current is minus because, like I say, there's no energy coming in. There might be a little bit of sun hitting the solar panel at the moment, but if there is, it really isn't much, and it's very much an angle. So it's obviously pulling in negative. We've got minus 4.79 amps, minus 60 watts, and it's saying that we've got, using what we've been using, we've still got another 12 hours, which means that basically the Starlink, just the Starlink on, only that in the van, with the battery not getting charged at all, it will last about 24 hours, which isn't bad. But when we have other things connected, obviously that just isn't realistic. If we go into the history here, you can see obviously the last time that it was fully charged was 13 hours 51 minutes ago, because as I mentioned, that's when the sun went down yesterday. Here you can just get a bit of a view at what it looks like. But yeah, that is our battery. And then if you go into our solar, just out of curiosity to see how much it is actually getting, 11 watts at the moment. Not very much. Like I said, the sun is getting brighter and brighter behind me, so it is about to come through there. But yeah, let me just go and change the dongle over into the inverter, and we can have a quick look at that as well. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see behind me, I do feel like it's getting a lot brighter. I had to adjust the camera because it was starting to look a bit white. But yeah, going back into the app, now you can see that instead of where the battery monitor was, there is now the inverter. It has the same name just because it is the dongle, where the dongle gets plugged into, and it's called the same on both devices as it's the same company. But yeah, going in, you can see that what's pulling, which, like I mentioned, the only thing plugged into the inverter right now is the Starlink. So everything that you can see that's happening is because of the Starlink at the moment. So it's pulling 66 VA, which we know is volt amps. We're not sure exactly what that means, but that's just what's pulling. So yeah, you can't see much more information. You can see the voltage coming in from the battery, and the state is inverting, as you can see, which obviously is because the Starlink is plugged into it. So that's what information we have in regards to how much consumption and all that. And now moving on to the speed test. I'm going to do two different kinds of speed tests today. The first one is actually in the Starlink app. It has the option to do a speed test there. So let's just go ahead and do that and see what we get. Okay, so first speed test completed, and we've got 329 megabytes per second on the download and 41 megabytes per second on the upload, which is a lot more. Someone asked me the other day on the video. I promise you, the first day that we set this up, it did say 80 and 20. Today it's a lot more, so yeah. Sorry about that. And now we're going to do the other speed test that I have, speed test app that I have downloaded is Ookla, I think it's called. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'm also going to adjust the camera settings because it's starting to look a bit bad. That's better. Let's do the second speed test and see if the numbers are similar at all. So it's interesting as one is actually in the Starlink app and the other one is just a third-party speed test, so we'll see. Okay, so these results are actually quite different. So the numbers that initially come up are 255 on the download and 21.6 on the upload. So the download isn't too different, I suppose, but the upload is about half. However, when you click on to see detailed results, it does actually say 41, and the light is starting to look ridiculous. It does actually say 41 in responsiveness, but I don't really know what all this means, so I'm just going to pop them up on screen so you can see the results on both ends and make your own mind up of what you think of it. But yeah. That is that. So in the last Starlink video I mentioned that when we actually installed the antenna, something happens to the camera. I managed to actually get those bits back, so I'm going to just pop them in here. These are from 2 weeks ago of us actually finishing the installation of the Starlink on the roof for the van. Temporary setup we have in the boot. Obviously this is not going to stay like this. This is just temporary. All these cables will probably also have to put through that tube, as that's where we have all the 240 volt system going through. But yeah, this is just so that we could test it and see how it was all working. It is currently plugged in up there, which that is a plug that leads to the inverter. And yeah, that is that. And yeah, I think that's been the most dramatic light change I've had in a video so far. That's what I get for doing something before the sun comes up, and yeah, now it has come up and it's shining straight into the van, so it's creating a very weird kind of lighting. I hope you found this video interesting. If it did help you, if you are thinking of getting Starlink, if you do want to watch the setup video, it's already live, so you can go ahead and do that. It will be linked below. And yeah, I hope you're having a great Sunday, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!